I found a cool album. Whoa, pour my first cup of coffee. It's all in the wrist. I almost spilled it everywhere, but I didn't. Okay, this album. Good morning. I should say that. Good morning, everyone. Or afternoon, or whenever you see this. Sufjan Stevens has a new album called Meditations, and it's all cool, like instrumental, just short instrumental songs. Heading to Rhode Island to see your nephew. Well, bless your heart. I hope he's well, Lalo. And good morning. What is YP? Maybe he meant GM. Sorry, I'm a little groggy because, whoa. First of all, I couldn't seem to wake up this morning. So I woke up late and yo, there's Andrew. Good. I woke up late and I have news that I'm like, I don't know if I can even say it because I don't know if it's real. I mean, it's real, but it's not real to me yet. I don't know. Good morning, Kelly. Thanks for coming in. Let's smell these. They still smell really good. I struck oil. Black Gold, Texas tea. Oh my gosh, who used to watch Beverly Hillbillies when they were little? Reruns. I'm not that old for it to be to have watched it when it was on, but I definitely watched reruns, and I used to love that show. I don't know why. And yeah, actually it's not a great show. Like, I don't think I watched it. It was like my family watched it, and so I had to watch it because the TV. But I watched it for the the cement pond. I watched it for the introduction and the song. The introduction song is good. What other show? Oh, when I was little, I used to love to watch The Monkees. Who watched that show? And the intro to that show was really good too because they get on this couch. The couch part is the best, where they ride the couch down the road. So punk rock. Oh my god. I did too. That was like my favorite show when I was little. So did I have good morning, Adam? I'm really good. I have really good news. I don't know if I can. I never watched the Sonny and Cher show. Maybe once or twice. I don't even know if I can say it. So let me just move on, and because it's not real to me yet. But kind of life-changing news for me. We're listening to the new Sufjan Stevens album, Meditations. Check it out. I'm gonna put it on loop. Yeah. It's scary too. Anyway. Good. 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 Oh, that's the other thing I was gonna do. Read y'all a poem. Because it's National Poetry Month. Obviously I'll tell you, Andrew, because I tell Andrew everything. If you want to ever know anything about me, ask Andrew. But the thing is, he won't tell you. Will you? He'll say, none of your fucking business, right? Oh, I just lost my family rating, G rating. What will you tell them if they ask you, Andrew? I'm smiling so much that my head hurts. We're not ready for this yet. We're ready for a poem. We are reading Siddhartha, guys. We're about almost halfway through the book. Yeah. I have a feeling he'll be like that. I have no idea who you're talking about. I talk to so many people. Her name's Jessica. Do you know how many people are named Jessica? Literally like 40% of the women who are born in women who were born the year I was born is named Jessica. Probably not. I could say so. I haven't heard that in even years. Do you guys like Jessica? Do you think I'm a Jessica, Jessie, or Jess? What do you guys think? Seems more natural. The poem I want to read to you, Jess, is that just because I'm folktale Jess? Jess seems a little more updated. Jessica's fast becoming an old woman. You and everybody else, Andrew. An old woman name. The poem I want to less repressed. It's just Jessica seemed like a repressed name. Like Brittany. Free Jessica. Also has that hard k sound in there, like a s and a k, and it's kind of exhausting, really. Try and rhyme something with Jessica. There's no cool Jessica songs. There's one by Outkast that mentions Jessica. There's an Allman Brothers song that's called Jessica, but it's instrumental. It's like their best song, but still. The poem I want to read to you is called Coyote with Mange. I have not read it aloud, so bear with me. The Almond Brothers. No, Almond. And it's by Mark Wunderlich, who is one of my favorite poets, American poets. Are you all ready to read a poem about Coyote with Mange? Does anyone, before we start, yes, he has one of my favorite poems. What's the name of it, Andrew? It's like White Stag in a Slough or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. The White Deer, the White Stag. No, but do you remember that? I'm only like a couple years older than her. Maybe a few years older than her, I don't know. Yes, that one. And it's about a white deer. Yes, in the back of the truck that went to show the school kids, and it's very Midwestern. It's like when I read that, I'm like, this is the most. You don't. Oh, Jessica and the Well, and you share the same birthday. Not you and Lalo shared the same birthday. Yeah, the poem where the deer is found dead, drowned in a slough, and a guy puts it in the back of his pickup truck and takes it to the school for the school kids to see this white deer, and the town stuffs it and puts it in a glass case at the bank. And it just feels so Midwestern. like something like he lived that poem. It felt like, and he lived it in the Midwest. Do you all know what mange is? Like, if when I say like that dog has mange, or this coyote has mange, can you have the visual image of it? So visual. And then motion poems did that motion. Spotty hair, it's like, yeah, it's like this that's actually a parasite that um makes the animal lose hair, and it's super painful, and I imagine it is. I never had it. um it requires medical treatment, and I think it can kill an animal. Dogs are especially dogs, and apparently coyotes or canines are especially prone to it. Dr. Evil's cat, I don't think has mange. I think it's a special hairless cat. Which I don't know, like, I like the idea of a hairless cat, um, but I feel like I would be constantly worried about whether it's cold or not, and like I'd be constantly trying to put it in sweaters, and be worried about its body temperature. So I don't know if I can handle that extra emotional labor already associated with animal husbandry. All right, coyote with mange. They are a bit scary. Oh, unreadable one, why have you done this to your dumb creature? Why have you chosen to punish the coyote, rummaging for chicken bones in the dung heap, shucked the fur from his tail, and fashioned it into a scabby cane? Why have you denuded his face, tufted it so that when he turns, he looks like a slow child, unhinging his face in a smile? The coyote shambles, crow hops, keeps his head low, and without fur, his now visible pizzle is a sad protuberance. His hind legs, the backward image of a bandy-legged grandfather, stripped. Why have you unhoused this wretch from his one ascetic virtue, taken from him that which kept him from burning in the sun like a man? Why have you pushed him from his world into mine, stopped him there, and turned his ear toward my warning shout? I love this poem for a bunch of reasons, but good morning, Tate. Yes, Prince Philip is dead. I love it for a bunch of reasons, but not the least of which is it's a reminder that you can write poetry about disgusting and ugly things, and that's fine. And in some way, it turns into beauty. It's like this alchemical thing that happens when we write poems, right? Also, it's really examining I should have thought about this before I tried to talk to you about it, but it's this very human thing of grappling with the creator, grappling with these tough questions like, why do bad things happen? Why do horrible things happen? It's just a coyote. It didn't, it's just living its life, or trying to live its life, and it contracted mange. And as he says, it took the one thing, the one good feature in his eyes away from him, right? Why? Why is there suffering in the world? And especially to what we think of as innocence, right? Why do the innocents suffer? Such a common. One of the most human questions that we all have, like maybe the most human question, like why do bad things happen? And I feel like it kind of goes in line with shit happens. Yeah. It does at the same time, like, yeah, and also true, the coyote's not complaining. And in fact, when he turns his head, because he doesn't have any skin, it's any hair, it seems like he's smiling at the narrator, the observer of this poem, too. So there's a weird message in that too. The coyote's still digging for chicken bones. The coyote's still doing the coyote what coyote does. I feel like this is a real question that maybe confronted Siddhartha when he when he's in search for his capital S self. Don't we all ask that question? Anyway, did you all get a different reading from that? I don't want to pick it apart too much. And not to bum you out, I didn't feel like it was particularly tragic. Anyway, we're gonna read. If you guys are still here, I'm a little nervous about my connection from what happened last time. Might have to restart with cellular data. Okay, excellent. And I was watching Lalo's haps yesterday, and we got him to do it. He did a haps. Peer pressure works. As the haps progressed, my delay was longer and longer, which is so infuriating. Oh, he ate a donut, which made me mad because I'm not eating sugar now, but whatever. I guess I'll get over it. Are you all ready? We're in an entirely different part of the book now. No, I mean, I'm sure they do, but I wouldn't have a sugarless donut. Like, no, I would just rather mainline that nastiness. Also, I have an aversion to artificial sweeteners, a real aversion to it. Like, it gives me headaches. Also, they taste gross. We're deep into part 2. Wednesday we read Kamala, who is Siddhartha's love interest. Love, it's like, I can't even use that word love, because he just wants to be with her and know her in an intimate way, and have her teach him the art of lovemaking. But she says, you know what? I don't carnally, yes. She's like, but I don't get with nasty hobos. Sorry. You're gonna have to get some nice clothes and like clean up a little bit. And this is my profession, so you can also pay me because I have to live too. So this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to become someone pleasing to Kamala. And we got to this part where he was begging for rice cakes. If you guys watched my last one, he was begging for rice cakes and he got one. he got one, and then he was like, you know what? Oh yeah, I'm not a beggar. I'm not about that life anymore. And he gave his rice cake to a dog who may or may not have had mange. Um, anyway, I loved that part because it was just like, things clicked. Oh, I want to do something different. I want something different than what I have. So I'm going to have to act differently now than what I have been acting, what I've been doing. He's swallowing the capitalism pill. The blue pill. Is that what it is? Amongst the people. Siddhartha went to see Kamaswami the merchant and was shown into a rich house. Servants conducted him across costly carpets to a room where he waited for the master of the house. Kamaswami came in, a supple, lively man with graying hair, with clever, prudent eyes and a sensual mouth. Master and visitor greeted each other in a friendly manner. I've been told, the merchant began, that you are Brahmin, a learned man, but that you seek service with a merchant. Are you then in need, Brahmin, that you seek service? No, replied Siddhartha, I'm not in need, and I never have been in need. I have come from the Samanas, with whom I lived a long time. If you come from the Samanas, how is it that you are not in need? Are not all Samanas completely without possessions? I possess nothing, said Siddhartha. If that is what you mean, I am certainly without possessions, but of my own free will, so I am not in need. But how will you live if you are without possessions? I have never thought about it, sir. I've been without possessions for nearly 3 years, and I've never thought on what I should live. So you have lived on so you have lived on the possessions of others? Apparently. The merchant also lives on the possessions of others. Well spoken, but he does not take from others for nothing. He gives his goods in exchange. That seems to be the way of things. Everyone takes, everyone gives. Life is like that. Excuse me. Ah, but if you are without possessions, how can you give? Everyone gives what he has. The soldier gives strength, the merchant goods, the teacher instruction, the farmer rice, the fisherman fish. Very well, and what can you give? What have you learned that you can give? I can think, I can wait, I can fast. Is that all? I think that is all. And of what use are they? For example, fasting. What good is that? It is of great value, sir. If a man has nothing to eat, fasting is the most intelligent thing he can do. If, for instance, Siddhartha had not learned to fast, he would have had to seek some kind of work today, either with you or elsewhere, for hunger would have driven him. But as it is, Siddhartha can wait calmly. He is not impatient. He is not in need. He can ward off hunger for a long time and laugh at it. Therefore, fasting is useful, sir. You are right, Samana. Wait a moment. Kamaswami went out and returned with a roll, which he handed to his guest and inquired, Can you read this? Siddhartha looked at the roll, on which a sales agreement was written, and began to read the contents. Excellent, said Kamaswami. And will you write something for me on this sheet? He gave him a sheet and a pen, and Siddhartha wrote something and returned the sheet. Kamaswami read, Writing is good, thinking is better, cleverness is good, patience is better. You write very well, the merchant praised him. We shall still have plenty to discuss, but today I invite you to be my guest and to live in my house. Siddhartha thanked him and accepted. He now lived in the merchant's house. Clothes and shoes were brought to him, and a servant prepared him a bath daily. Splendid meals were served twice a day, but Siddhartha ate only once a day, and neither ate meat nor drank wine. Kamaswami talked to him about his business, showed him goods and warehouses and accounts. Siddhartha learned many new things. He heard much and said little. And remembering Kamala's words, he was never servile to the merchant, but compelled him to treat him as an equal, and even more than his equal. Kamaswami conducted his business with care and often with passion, but Siddhartha regarded it all as a game, the rules of which he endeavored to learn well, but which did not stir his heart. I think this is so good to read, and just good to know that, like, yes, we live in a capitalistic society. There's no getting around it. But you can't, like, nobody can force you to want to buy, a new TV or whatever. There's things that we all need to live a decent and have a decent standard of living, but like, I don't watch TV. I not trying to bring it back to me. I should say I kind of get off on not having the latest and greatest. It feels a little like sticking it to the man. I'm speaking to you now on an iPhone 7, and I think there are, like, it's like iPhone 11 now, something. It's absolutely ridiculous that I even have an iPhone in the first place. Like, it's amazing that we can even do this, that we can even have this space. So good on Siddhartha for being fine with nothing. I mean, that's really powerful. The merchant can learn a lot from him. Am I still? You guys are quiet. He was not long in Kamaswami's house when he was already taking a part in his master's business. Daily. It's like being, what's the phrase? Being in the world, but not of the world, right? You're not necessarily caught in the samsara of capitalism, the want that is the engine of capitalism. Steph, how are you? How are you? Do you have fun weekend plans? I'm going to Cape Girardeau today, later this afternoon. Missouri. Excuse me, I keep clearing my throat. I apologize. Yeah, some. I mean, just today, not the rest of the weekend, really. He was not long in Kamaswami's house when he was already taking part in his master's business. Daily, however, at the hour she invited him, he visited the beautiful Kamala in handsome clothes and fine shoes, and soon he also brought her presents. It's survival. There's no we can be against capitalism. Yes, creator versus consumer. I love this. I love the way that you phrase that. We can be against capitalism, but the reality is that we live in a capitalist society, and we all have to survive, and not just survive, but we deserve to feel safe. For sure, Steph. We deserve to feel safe and have a sense of hope and a sense of growth and feel like our lives are meaningful. And I think, especially what you're doing, Tate, is the most morally correct way to go about capitalism, because we're not, you aren't trusting that, hello, Pragya. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. You're not hoping that some corporation, some organization has your best interests at heart. You're taking control of that. So you have such a you have a say in how your life is going. Um, and you're in such an enviable position, and not only enviable, but um, I hope someday you consider growing to the point where you can employ someone and also ensure their day-to-day well-being is that's a lot of responsibility, but their day-to-day well-being is um, at the same level as yours, like what you would want for them. I would love that. um Also, I'm fascinated with this is going back to my news too, um news that I have. But one there's a um there are professions, there are people in the world that spend their lives trying to make sure that workers like have a safe, healthy environment um, to operate in. I don't know how long this chapter is, but I need to keep. Oh, we don't have much longer. I need to keep going. He learned many things from her wise red lips, and I should have wore my red lipstick today. I almost did. I almost put something different on, and I was like, no, I have to go meet with somebody later. I need to look profesh. Her smooth, gentle hand taught him many things. He, who was still a boy as regards love, and was inclined to plunge to the depths of it blindly and insatiably, was taught by her that one cannot have pleasure without giving it, and that every gesture, every caress, every touch, every glance, every single part of the body has its secret which can give pleasure to one who can understand. She taught him that lovers should not separate from each other after making love without admiring each other, without being conquered as well as conquering, so that no feeling of satiation or desolation arises, nor the horrid feeling of misusing or having been misused. He spent wonderful hours with the clever, beautiful courtesan, and became her pupil, her lover, her friend. Here with Kamala lay the value and meaning of his present life, not in Kamaswami's business. So he's attaching meaning and value to his life by being with Kamala. Do you guys see any potential pitfalls there? I sure do. The merchant passed on to him the writing of important letters and orders, and grew accustomed to conferring with him about all important affairs. He soon saw that Siddhartha understood little about rice and wool, shipping and trade, but that he had a happy knack and surpassed the merchant in calmness and equanimity, and in the art of listening and making a good impression on strange people. This Brahmin, he said to a friend, is no real merchant, and will never be one. He is never absorbed in the business, but he has the secret of those people to whom success comes by itself. Whether it is due to being born under a lucky star, or whether it is magic, or whether he has learned it from the samanas, he always seems to be playing at business. It never makes much impression on him. It never masters him. He never feels failure. He is never worried about a loss. I kind of had that same impression about Siddhartha too, that but he was born very lucky. He's a very lucky individual. He does seem to succeed despite himself, right? The friend advised the merchant, give him a third of the profits of the business which he conducts for you, but let him share the same portion of losses if any arise. He will thus become more enthusiastic. Entrap him in this capitalistic system. He's got to feel the pain. Kamaswami followed his advice, but Siddhartha was a little concerned about it. If he made a profit, he accepted it calmly. If he suffered a loss, he laughed and said, oh well, this transaction has gone badly. He did, in fact, seem indifferent about business. Once he traveled to a village in order to buy, and truly, if you're a good business person, you are you are indifferent about it. You have to have some indifference about it. Once he traveled to a village in order to buy a large rice harvest. When he arrived, the rice was already sold to another merchant. However, Siddhartha remained in the village several days, entertained the farmers, gave money to the children, attended a wedding, and returned from the journey completely satisfied. Kamaswami reproached him for not returning immediately, for wasting time and money. Siddhartha replied, "Do not scold, my dear friend. Nothing was ever achieved by scolding. If a loss has been sustained, I will bear the loss. I am very satisfied with this journey. I have become acquainted with many people. I have become friendly with a Brahmin. Children have sat on my knee. Farmers have showed me their fields. Nobody took me for a merchant." "That is all very fine," admitted Kamaswami reluctantly, "but you are in fact a merchant, or were you only traveling for your pleasure?" "Certainly I traveled for my pleasure." He was networking, people. You've not heard of this? um, Certainly I traveled for my pleasure, laughed Siddhartha. "Why not? I've become acquainted with people in new districts. I have enjoyed friendship and confidence. Now, if I had been Kamaswami, I should have departed immediately, feeling very annoyed when I saw I was unable to make a purchase, and time and money would indeed have been lost. But I spent a number of good days, learned much, and had much pleasure, and did not hurt either myself or others through annoyance or hastiness. If I ever go there again, perhaps to buy a later harvest or for some other purpose, friendly people will receive me, and I will be glad that I did not previously display hastiness and displeasure. Anyway, let it rest, my friend, and do not hurt yourself by scolding. If the day comes when you think, this Siddhartha is doing me harm, just say the word and Siddhartha will go on his way. Until then, however, let us be good friends." The merchant's attempts to convince Siddhartha that he was eating his Kamaswami's bread were also in vain. Siddhartha ate his own bread. Moreover, they all ate the bread of others, everybody's bread. I love the bread, specific bread word here, because of the time that this was written, right? When was this written, Andrew? Are you still here? I don't know when. This is 1951. I feel like it was earlier than that. Do you think it was the late 20s? Let's look it up. Can you look it up for me? This is standing out. The mention of bread and the sharing of bread and breaking of bread. It's very not only like New Testament, if you will, but also 1920, 1921, 1922. Also a bit socialist. We could read. Oh, how interesting! We're gonna read about Hermann Hesse after in the about the author page in the back, but we're almost done with this chapter. Well, not really, but close. Siddhartha was never concerned about Kamaswami's troubles, and Kamaswami had many troubles. If a transaction threatened to be unsuccessful, if a consignment of goods was lost, if a debtor appeared unable to pay, Kamaswami could never persuade his colleague that it served any purpose to utter troubled or angry words, to form wrinkles on the forehead, and sleep badly. When Kamaswami once reminded him that he had learned everything from him, he replied, "Do not make such jokes. I have learned from you how much a basket of fish costs and how much interest one can claim for lending money. That is your knowledge. But I did not learn how to think from you, my dear Kamaswami. It would be better if you learned that from me." This is the second person that has tried to tell him since you got to this village, um, that your success you owe to me. I taught you. And I find that to be quite abusive language. And we can disprove this. I almost said unprove. We can disprove this simply by trying to teach someone anything they don't want to learn. I I taught both my kids to read, but I hate to even say I taught them to read because I just like told them how it works and like held their hands a little bit, but I certainly did not, make it all click for them. And it was a weird thing. Like suddenly they were reading. It was like they took a few steps and then started, next thing you know, they're running is the same way. I you can't take people's steps for them. Anyway, I'm gonna stop ranting. His heart was not indeed in business. It was useful in order to bring him money for Kamala, and it brought him more than he really needed. Moreover, Siddhartha's sympathy and curiosity lay only with people whose work, troubles, pleasures, and follies were most unknown and remote from him than the moon. Dr. X seems good. Good from Twitch. Welcome. Um, Although he found it so easy to speak to everyone, to live with everyone, to learn from everyone, he was very curious of the fact that there was something which separated him from them, and this was due to the fact that he had been a samana. He saw people living in a childish or animal like way, which he both loved and despised. He saw them toiling, saw them suffer and grow gray about things that to him did not seem worth the price, for money, small pleasures, and trivial honors. He saw them scold and hurt each other. He saw them lament over pains at which the samana laughs, and suffer at deprivations which a samana does not feel. I really love this. Because guess what? Like, you might think you're off path or off track or lost. Um, and then something will happen, and you will have a realization that there's no way that you could take this next step if you hadn't gone through everything that you had gone through previously. And I'm saying this from direct experience. It's happening to me right now, right today. I'm going to go meet with someone. Do I even say this? I can't even like it's still not real. I'm still like completely like um I don't know. I go through phases like I'm crying about it, and then I'm like, no, no, this can't be. Um oh yeah. Yeah, I am completely vaccinated, but I okay, but I am still wearing face masks everywhere, obviously. Yeah, so had Siddhartha not been a samana, had not gone down that path, down that road, he wouldn't be a good business person. He wouldn't have this natural ability that he has to withstand um, the trials and tribulations of being a merchant. That's what I'm trying to say. So, he realized that being a samana was not for him at some point. But he certainly learned quite a bit and is employing what he's learned daily. Oh, thank you so much. Daily in his merchant business. He would if Siddhartha. Somebody comment. Oh my gosh. Do I have to restart? Do I keep going? Okay. This happened. This happened before the last time I was on here. Okay. Bear with me. He accepted all that people brought to him. The merchant who brought him linen for sale was welcome. The debtor, no, no, it glitched. It said my connection. um, Haps puts this thing on your screen that says you're losing connection. So it's like this sign that comes up, and that's how I know that I'm losing it. But last time I just ended the broadcast and started a new one, and I decided to just stay this time, and I guess I'm back. Um we'll see how now my signal is kind of going down. I'm going to keep going if and keep doing and keep reading, and if I mess up, you guys can watch replay, right? It's very easy to watch replay. He accepted all that people brought to him. The merchant who brought him linen for sale was welcome. The debtor who sought a loan was welcome. The beggar who was welcome, who stayed an hour telling him the story of his poverty, and who is yet not as poor as any samana. He did not treat the rich foreign merchant differently from the servant who shaved him and the peddlers from whom he brought bananas. Well, first of all, Siddhartha would only have lunch today. And not breakfast and not dinner, so it better be a good one. If you're only going to have one meal, it better be really good. He didn't from whom he bought bananas and let himself be robbed of small coins. If Kamaswami came to him and told him his trouble or made him, probably hummus. I'm being so distracted. But I have some rye bread and hummus, and sometimes it's so delicious just to have like toast some like rye bread and put some hummus on it, and like maybe some sliced cucumbers or something crunchy on top. It's like crunchy and creamy and good at the same time. Try it. You might like it. Try it. You might like it. Oh my gosh. Tried to understand him, conceded to him a little where it seemed necessary, and turned away from him the next one who wanted him. And many people came to him, many to trade with him, many to deceive him, many to listen to him, many to elicit his sympathy, many to listen to his advice. He gave advice, he sympathized, he gave presents, he allowed himself to be cheated a little, and he occupied his thoughts with all this game and the passion with which all men play it, as much as he had previously occupied his thoughts with the gods and Brahman. At times he heard within him a soft, gentle voice, which complained quietly so that he could hardly hear it. Then he suddenly saw clearly that he was leading a strange life, that he was doing many things that were only a game, that he was quite cheerful and sometimes experienced pleasure, but that real life was flowing past him and did not touch him, like a player who plays with his ball and he played with his business, with the people around him, watched them, derived amusement from them, but with his heart, with his real nature, he was not there. He was real self, wandered elsewhere, far away, wandered on invisibly, and had nothing to do with his life. He was sometimes afraid of these thoughts and wished that he could also share their childish daily affairs with intensity, truly to take part in them, to enjoy and live their lives instead of only being there as an onlooker. He visited the beautiful Kamala regularly, learned the art of love, in which more than anything else, giving and taking become one. He talked to her, learned from her, gave her advice, received advice. She understood him better than Govinda had once done. She was more like him. Once he said to her, "You are like me. You are different from other people. You are Kamala and no one else. And within you there's a stillness and sanctuary to which you can retreat at any time and be yourself just as I can. Few people have that capacity, and yet everyone could have it." "Not all people are clever," said Kamala. "It has nothing to do with that, Kamala," said Siddhartha. "Kamaswami is just as clever as I am, and yet he has no sanctuary. Others have it who are only children in understanding. Most people, Kamala, are like a falling leaf that drifts and turns in the air, flutters and falls to the ground. But few others are like stars which travel one defined path. No wind reaches them. They have within themselves their guide and path. Among all the wise men, of whom I knew many, there was one who was perfect in this respect. I can never forget him. He is Gautama, the illustrious one, who preaches this gospel. Thousands of young men hear his teachings every day and follow his instructions every hour, but they are all falling leaves. They have not the wisdom and guide within themselves." Kamala looked at him and smiled. "You're talking about him again," she said. "Again you have Samana thoughts." Siddhartha was silent, and they played the game of love. One of the 30 or 40 different games which Kamala knew. Her body was as supple as a jaguar, a hunter's bow. Whoever learned about love from her learned many pleasures, many secrets. She played with Siddhartha for a long time, repulsed him, overwhelmed him, conquered him, rejoiced at her mastery until he was overcome and lay exhausted at her side. The courtesan bent over him and looked long at his face, into his eyes, and had grown tired. "You are the best lover that I have had," she said thoughtfully. "You are stronger than others, more supple, more willing. You have learned my art well, Siddhartha. Some day, when I am older, I will have a child by you. And yet, my dear, you have remained a Samana. You do not really love me. You love nobody. Is that not true?" "Maybe," said Siddhartha wearily. "I'm like you. You cannot love either. Otherwise, how could you practice love as an art? Perhaps people like us cannot love. Ordinary people can. That is their secret." Yeah, isn't that interesting? I haven't watched the film adaptation of Siddhartha. This is the main grapple that I have with like Buddhism in general, like detachment in general. I am a mother. Like I can't just like I'm so invested. Like there's not only am I a mother, even if I wasn't, there's compassion and there's empathy. And like compassion is like this objective, like caring about other people and animals and other and things in the world. It's detached. It's objective. It's equanimitous or whatever. I'm not saying the word correctly. I feel like there's a real role for people. I feel like when I try to deny my empathy, which is feeling other people's emotions, pain, happiness, um, it's different than like my words are failing me right now. Does anyone know what I'm trying to say? Um, perhaps, Andrew. Um, because I feel there's, first of all, we can't, um, it's just no use discounting any emotion. I don't care if it's rage, um, or envy, or disgust. Even like there's no point in trying to somehow detach ourselves from it. When I try and do that, I don't feel human. I feel robotic. When I don't feel empathy, like I have gone through, like, there was like a 4-month period in my life where I just felt so out, like I was walking around not in my body. Like, things were happening, but I just didn't have, it was like I was, like, empty inside. I don't know how to explain it. Well, going to a therapist, I found out I was depressed, right? Like, that wasn't healthy for me. Not feeling empathy is not healthy, um, for me. So, like, this part when they're like, he's like, "You're like me," and when she says, "You can't love," um, yes, actually, I've been on a waiting list, but here it's so bad. I've been on the waiting list for many months. They're saying 9 months, maybe, or more. Um, it's crazy. There's a real dearth. I can't believe we're circling around this right now. Let's read about, sorry to laugh, but just life is really funny. Um let's read about Herman Hesse a little bit on the back. Um because I am curious about that section. Um I I'm not oh, you were asking me if I'm going to a therapist to treat my depression. I maybe if you have depression once, you always have it. I'm not sure um about that, but I know, like, I don't feel how I felt before. And it's been quite a long time since I felt that way. And thankfully, thank God, because I don't ever want to feel that way again. I don't think that's necessarily in my control. Um, but yeah, I was just gonna say that. However, um, like, I think I need to, triage right now? No. Um, but therapy is always good. Not necessarily. There's some a lot of reading that I've done regarding trauma. And a lot of um sometimes the best thing to do to get over trauma is not necessarily try to heal the trauma right now. Um I was just listening to a podcast this morning about how the etymology of words, and heal means to make whole, right? And blessings, there's like um part of the root word of blessing is wounding, which is so fascinating. And this guy Michael Mead was talking about it this morning. Not this morning. I don't know when he recorded it, but I was just listening to it this morning. Like, there's a wound in blessing. There's It's so beautiful, poetic. Um, but for trauma, sometimes people experience trauma, like smelling something beautiful and experiencing beauty and um, breathing, tangible things is more important in the short term than trying to heal this wound. There has to be a cleansing part then, right? Like, you have to clean the wound out a little bit before you can suture it up together. If we want to make the metaphor about like an actual cut or something, it has to be washed out or it'll get infected. Um so it like you don't necessarily, if someone's gone through like a major trauma, it's not necessarily um important to try and heal it immediately, but to gain regain a sense of self back. So I'm trying to say, um a sanctuary, like Siddhartha was saying, like an inner sanctuary. That's more important than trying to go battle the demons in of the wounding. Um, anyway, this is why there's professionals. But let me read about Herman Hesse in the back. It feels like that, doesn't it? It feels like that, and I think sometimes with depression, or what I experienced is something like so abrupt, what seemingly abrupt happened to me, a trauma, and that's really what trauma is, right? This like abrupt event, an upending. Um, it was so abrupt that um, I was stunned for a bit. I was stunned for a minute, more than a minute. Um, I was walking around like there was this a very delayed reaction to it. And so it's like, I don't know if you've ever cut yourself with something really sharp. Like you don't feel it. Like it's like if it's sharp enough, you don't even feel the cut um, for a minute until like you put disinfectant in it or something and it starts to sting and then you really feel it. But the disconnect that I was talking about, I feel like that's that point in the wounding where Dr. X, where you haven't yet really felt it. Okay, there's times you do have to. There's no getting around it. You will feel it. You will feel it, right? Um, when it's stitched up, you're gonna, and it starts to heal and itch and feel really sore. That's healing. That happens with our psyches too. Um, but there is this space, there can be this space of like detachment. You're not feeling it, you're not really recognizing the trauma. Um, it still has to be washed out though. You still have to like put the disinfectant on it. And I think a good disinfectant, regardless of whether it's a physical wound or a psychic wound, is sunlight, is nature, um, joy, finding these things in life. And you need a reset. Sometimes people need such a reset to defrag in such a way, to use a computer analogy, that they have to be put in an environment in which they don't have the option of re-injuring themselves like repeatedly, or you're not in the environment that is injuring you. And in that case, in those cases, like a center, um, a hospital, for triage or whatever. I'm getting way off course. I do want to read this about the author page, because the part that he's nerdy language. I know, right? When was the last time I defragged my computer? Have I? Excuse me. Have I ever? I know I must have. The part where that's sticking out to me, um, about the bread and the sharing of the bread and all of that, it seemed very Christian. It seemed, and also socialist to me, and um, has a certain flavor to that whole section, and then which made me also think that Kamala has Defrag. Chew on that. Chew on that. You got to defrag. Everyone has to defrag. We have to go outside. We have to take breaks. You can't just do the same thing constantly and expect shit to work out. It's not possible. Go defrag. Go stand in the woods for a minute. But anyway, it made me think of when he was talking about the bread and communing with people and the merchant, and it felt so like New Testament to me, that it made me think of Kamala as sort of a Magdalene, almost like a Magdalene character. But anyway, let's read about it. Really got me spinning with the rest of the chapter. Born in 1877 in Kahl, on the edge of the Black Forest, Hermann Hesse was brought up in a missionary household where it was assumed that he would study for the ministry. The print is so tiny. Hesse's religious crisis, which is often recorded in his novels, led to his fleeing from the Mandelbrunn Seminary in 1892, an unsuccessful cure by a well-known theologian and faith healer, and an attempted suicide. After being expelled from high school, he worked in bookshops for several years, a usual occupation for budding German authors. Oh my gosh. Also read books. That's another way to defrag. You can defrag by pumping so much information into your brain that it scrambles it, and you can defrag that way. His first novel, Peter Kamenzind, 1904, describes the early manhood of a writer who leaves his Swiss mountain village to encounter the world. This was followed by Beneath the Wheel, 1906, the story of a gifted adolescent crushed by the brutal expectations of his father and teachers, a novel which was Hesse's personal attack on the educational system of his time. World War I came as a terrific shock, and Hesse joined the pacifist Roman Rolland in anti-war activities, not only writing anti-war tracts and novels, but editing newspapers for German prisoners of war. During this period, Hesse's first marriage broke up, reflected or discussed outright in Nulp and Rosalhad. He studied the works of Freud, eventually underwent analysis with Jung, and was for a time a patient in a sanatorium. I did not know any of this. In 1919, he moved permanently to Switzerland and brought out, and also I think this might be the first and only Hermann Hesse work that I read, but I know that Steppenwolf was on my to read list for a long time. He moved permanently to Switzerland, brought out Demian, which reflects his preoccupation with the workings of the subconscious and with psychoanalysis. The book was an enormous success and made Hesse famous throughout Europe. In 1922, he turned his attention to the East, which he had visited several times before the war, and wrote Siddhartha, the story of an Indian youth's long spiritual quest for the answer to the enigma of a man's role on this earth. In 1927, he wrote Steppenwolf, the account of a man torn between his individualism and his attraction to the bourgeois respectability, and his conflict between self-affirmation and self-destruction. We've got to read this. We've got to read Steppenwolf. In 1930, he published Narcissus and Goldmund, regarded as Hesse's greatest novel. Well, maybe we should read that too. The New York Times, according to the New York Times, dealing with the friendship between two medieval priests, one contented with his religion, the other a wanderer endlessly in search of peace and salvation. I do too. The Journey to the East appeared in 1932 And now I can hear myself. That is super bizarre. I'm going to go. It was so nice spending this Friday morning with you.